Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So, if you're looking at this, you're probably very familiar with it, but this is the Japanese version. So, I just, realized that I've never done a review of Final Fight, one of my favorite games of all time, and well, it's just awesome. And I've never really played the Japanese version, so this is the Japanese arcade version, and there are some differences. Like this scene, I don't remember it being in the American version. But let's go ahead and get this started. Because I love this game. So my favorite character out of all three is Guy. So he was missing in the Super Nintendo version, but he was available in the Sega CD version, which I've never played, but that is probably the best home translation. Man, it's so satisfying. Honestly, I'll never get sick of a Final Fight. It is just that good. The only thing that I would say was better in terms of gameplay is Streets of Rage. I love Streets of Rage 1 and 2. Streets of Rage 3 was okay. I haven't played the new modern Streets of Rage. I heard that was good, so I might play that at some point. I kind of wish that there was a Streets of Rage with these Final Fight graphics. Because the graphics here is just awesome. But I definitely say Streets of Rage had better music for sure because of Yutsuo Koshiro. But that was something that I don't know if the Genesis could have done as well because of the color palette. But Streets of Rage 2 and 3, the graphics were great, but it just didn't have the color of the Super Nintendo or definitely of the arcade. So if they ever released a newer version with the Final Fight arcade graphics, it would be awesome. But what's so awesome about Final Fight? Well, I could just say everything, but it's really just the feel of just punching somebody like this, along with the great sound effects. You see, when you're playing it, everything's so fast and fluid, and that's one thing that Capcom does so well. They are a legendary company for a reason. They get everything right. The Final Fight, it was just, I guess, the next evolution of these side-scrolling beat-em-ups because Double Dragon was really the one that brought it to a popular level. We did have a game prior to Double Dragon. I think it's called Renegade, and I can't remember what it's called in Japan, but that's the same person or team that actually created Double Dragon. And Double Dragon was awesome for its time. But the one thing that is lacked, which this one definitely has, is just the overall gameplay and speed. So it's fixed all of that. And the character designs, I love it. That's another thing. This is more in a post-apocalyptic age. So it kind of made me think of like stuff like Mad Max, stuff like that, and RoboCop as well. And it's just so inventive. And I think it's the other Final Fight equals. I think pretty much they were all on the Super Nintendo. At least the Final Fight mainline stuff. There was a Sega Saturn game. I can't remember the name, but it was like the successor, the 3D version of Final Fight. But it was pretty terrible. And yeah. But the original is always going to be the best. The Super Nintendo Final Fight 2 and 3, they were okay. But it never had the same special magic that this first one did. And I would have liked to play the Sega CD version because I heard that the music there is even better than the arcade. But this is the one thing that the Japanese version has. It's not like edited or censored in any way because there's different cultures, and so certain things in the U.S. were not acceptable. Like this character Poison, she was definitely not acceptable at that time because of the way she's dressed. But in Japan, it was all good. Oh man. And this was definitely a quarter muncher. But what I like about Final Fight is it's really easily accessible. Okay, you can just pick it up and play. You don't really have to know anything. And the difficulty's there, but it's not so hard where you just don't enjoy playing it, It's absolutely fun. Then with having two players, it's even more fun. Wow. And if I remember correctly, originally this was supposed to be like a Street Fighter side-scrolling beat 'em up, if I remember correctly. And eventually, all of our characters did end up in Street Fighter games, so kind of worked out. And Andre reminded me of Andre the Giant of wrestling. I think that's where they got inspiration for this character. And you know, whenever I saw it at the arcades, obviously my mind was blown because the graphics were just out of this world. And back then, you know, because the graphics hardware is nowhere near what it is today, when your new system came out, or you know, you go to the arcades, you could see a huge difference. Whereas nowadays, you know, graphics, they're not like, you know, a huge evolution, you know, evolution versus the previous generation, you know, because the graphics are so good nowadays. But back then, you know, when you moved up from, at least in the home system, from 8-bit to 16-bit and then 32-bit, you could clearly see the difference. And the arcade always had the upper hand for a very long time. Even when like the hardware got better at home, it still couldn't really match the arcades. So about the only system that I would say were two systems really, that were really arcade perfect was the Neo Geo and the Sega Dreamcast. Those were my favorites when it comes to straight arcades. And it was kind of funny because both the PlayStation and then especially the PlayStation 2, they definitely were powerful enough to do these arcade games, but I don't know. I always kind of felt like the arcade experience, it was always the best under Neo Geo and Sega Dreamcast, you know, despite not being as powerful as the newer systems. And there's really not much in the way of music here. You know, it's more like background stuff. So that's why I say Streets of Rage had way better music. But the sound effects here, they're just awesome. You feel like every single punch. And the weapons, they're okay, you know, they move fast. That's a good thing. But sometimes some of these weapons, they're so slow, you don't really get the benefit out, you know, of having them. You're better off just not getting them. But in this case, they are fast enough where you can make use of it. Oh man. In this game, it's not a super long game. It's about 5 levels before you get to the final boss. Oh, wow. But obviously, me having unlimited quarters, you know, it does make a difference. And maybe the next time I die, I'll probably try Cody. I'm not a big fan of Hagar. It's just too slow for me, even though it's really powerful. Yeah. Ooh. And I really love just this whole dystopian vibe, you know, and this is the Mad Gear game. And, you know, as I was playing this, you know, I noticed, oh, everything's going to be in the city, but they do change it up, you know, as you go along. So that's great. There's a lot of variety of settings as you get further in the game. And the bosses, they really are different, you know. In these cases, these main enemies that you fight, mostly they are color swaps, but they're still interesting. You know, like, especially when you have these characters that can actually block your attacks, which is really cool. Man, this really brings back memories of not only playing this in the arcade, which is my favorite place, but whenever I saw this at home, you know, kind of like when you first got like Street Fighter or Mario or something like that, you know, and then you just played it. Well, most of the arcade games, Mario was, you know, really got popular at home, so. But you know what I mean. Whenever you play arcade games and then you play it at home, it's a pretty sweet experience, especially, you know, if it's a game that you really love and if the home consoles get really close. And the Super Nintendo got really close. I mean, except for the fact that it didn't have Guy and it didn't have 2 players. But the graphics were really incredible at that time. Let me see if I could... Can I choose a different character? Yep. There it is. Let's do this, Cody. And it's great to have unlimited quarters because I don't care how many times they hit me. I just keep playing. It's funny how, you know, this character, this enemy, Saddam, this boss, ended up in Street Fighter Alpha 3. Oh. And Cody, he's okay, you know, he's just a lot slower for me. Come on, oh man. And it's funny as you're watching this, you know, you'll notice some Street Fighter references in some of these. You look real closely. Oh, let's try it. Let's keep playing with Cody for a little while. I guess I'm too lazy to try to dodge his attacks. All right. All right, take that.
Protect your online privacy and keep data brokers from selling your personal information by using Delete Me, the #1 privacy information remover service since 2010. Sign up today and get 20% off your first order. For more information, check out the affiliate link in the description area below.
I really wish they would have made a sequel to this in the arcade versus just being on the Super Nintendo. It would have been just so much better. Not to say that the sequels in the Super Nintendo were bad, but it's really definitely not as good as having arcade power. I don't know why they did that. Maybe because Capcom and Super Nintendo had some type of, or Nintendo had some type of agreement where the sequels would only be released on their system. Because if they would have made a sequel in the arcade to this, I think a lot of people would have loved to play it, myself included, with these awesome graphics and sound. And who knows? Maybe in the future there might be a retro version of Final Fight. And that's another thing I'm really surprised about. There's not a modern version of Final Fight yet. And honestly, I don't want it to go 3D. Okay. Alright. Take this out. Oh. So a lot of these fighting games that take inspiration from each other. So, if you play like Streets of Rage, a lot of the levels, they're kind of similar, Oh, crap. God, he's just so slow. But his attacks are a little bit more powerful. Oh, wow, Andre just destroyed me. So, I'm gonna go back to Guy because he's just better. I have more fun playing with him. Yep. Yeah. Oops. I thought he died. Well, I'm about to die. Yeah. Come on. Now, Streets of Rage 2, when they had this bar level, it was so awesome because they had disco lights and stuff. Wow. I really want to see Streets of Rage with these graphics. It would be so sweet. Okay. Oh, man. Come on. That guy's annoying. What would be great if the same team that did the brand new Streets of Rage, the modern version, would also do a modern version of Final Fight. That would be so sweet. I think they would do an amazing job on it. And I think the company that was .emu or something like that, if I remember correctly. Can't remember. Oh. I'm pretty sure if they use more modern graphics, there would be, or more modern power, there would be a lot more things going on in the background. Because this game, I mean, most of the graphics power goes into the foreground. It would have been great to see like parallax scrolling, more effects and stuff like that. Which Streets of Rage did really well, specifically Streets of Rage 2 had a lot of that. Come on. And I'll probably be talking too much about those two, but that's what I think about. Okay. Can't remember, is this the boss? No, this is the boss. Yep, this is the boss. That's so funny, I was just choking you out like that. Oh, yeah. It's the Andre bosses. And this kind of reminds you of wrestling, obviously. You're in a cage with two Andre the Giant wrestlers. Oh, this is what's great about having these weapons. It's actually useful. And with Guy, he could actually pick these up and swing this, I think, faster than Cody. I would say Saddam was harder than these bosses because, he moves a lot faster. Oh, that was just the mini boss. Yeah. Yeah. And another great thing is, you know, the arcades, when you saw this, you saw how large the characters were, but then also how many characters that they had on the screen at the same time. That's a pretty big thing. Oh, wrong character. It's okay. God, he's just so slow. You kind of have to like take a few hits before you get a hit in with Cody. And with Hagar, it's even worse. Like, I didn't even get a hit in. That sucks. But Cody, you know, once he does start punching, as long as you're not overwhelmed by enemies, he does some damage. But that's the thing, you know, if you don't get hit and you're not cornered. Whereas Guy, he could move around a lot faster and his punches are quicker too. Oh, come on. So I'll definitely be choosing Guy once Cody gets knocked out. Yeah. It would have been cool if this boss was actually in a Street Fighter game. I don't know if he ever has been, but he would make a cool, a cool character you could choose. All right, go ahead and bring Guy back. I'll probably play one more stage because I don't know if it's gonna. There's one. The last stage is the next stage. If it is, then I'll go ahead and beat it. But oh man, yeah. Why not? Let's go ahead and just pass this game. Always fun playing this game. And there were many other Final Fight games as well. There was like a mini Final Fight game using super deformed characters. A really cute game. And I think there was a Game Boy version as well. But once again, not a true arcade sequel. I still don't really understand it. Why didn't they ever make a true arcade sequel? Because, you know, this franchise actually lasted a long time because of how many different Final Fight games that there were, and also these characters showing up in so many Street Fighter games. So, what do we have left? Uptown, industrial area. Okay. There's like 2 more stages after this, so I don't think I'm gonna play it to the end. But as anybody's played Final Fight, they probably passed this so many times. Those fire effects are cool. I really hate this enemy right here who blocks you all the time. Kind of reminds me of the Ken character from Fist of the North Star. The way that he looks, the way he's drawn. I love that anime. It's awesome. Now that would have been cool if there was a Fist of the North Star with these graphics. That would have been also another great thing because they pretty much had it here. Oh, come on. Wow, this fire element adds another level of challenge because you gotta worry about not getting burned while trying to destroy these enemies. The great thing is the enemies could kind of get hurt by them too, I think. Oh, nope. Yep, they did get hurt by them, just like I did. Alright. And come on. And I can't remember if this Final Fight graphics engine, it looks very familiar. It was probably used in a lot of their games. Like Cadillacs versus Dinosaurs, I think it used the same graphics engine because it looks very, very similar. And the Punisher probably used the same engine as well. All of those are really fun games. Honestly, Capcom made so many great arcade games that I can't really think of too many games that I did not enjoy. It's top notch in everything that they did. You know, the more I think about this graphics engine, wow. They're probably using a lot of their games, but I'm just kind of thinking of like other games that this would have looked great on. Like having a Ghouls and Ghosts using this engine, just huge sprites. That would have been sweet. Oh. A really cool crossover for this. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but you know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game crossover at Final Fight, that would have been awesome. Oh, God, there's a lot of these enemies. Okay. Got it. Okay. So, I think this boss is going to be Rolento, who also ended up in Street Fighter. I think it's Street Fighter 0 or Street Fighter 03, I can't remember. Oh man, come on. And that was a character that I didn't expect. But when you play him, if you know how to play him well, he was a pretty cool character. He just looked awesome as well. Throwing grenades. Yes. Oh yeah, take that. Whoa. And as I stated earlier, you know, the levels, they are varied, even though it's all in like a city. Just really cool how they were able to make things look different, which definitely helped the game. Oh wow. Another great game that could have really benefited from this engine. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but Double Dragon. You know, a modern Double Dragon using these graphics. Retro, of course, because these are retro graphics. That would have been sweet. Honestly, the hardest boss so far has been Saddam. These other bosses, they're really not that difficult compared to that guy, because when he runs into you, you just get hit. Never really figured out how to dodge his attacks. And what I like about it is when you continue, you don't have to start over fighting these bosses, you know? So that adds to the ease, I guess, of beating this game. And just, you know, making it more accessible. Come on. Okay, so if you had a slow character like Hagar, this would take forever. Or even with Cody. But with Guy, it's alright. He's fast. And I just beat Rolento. Yeah. Okay, so there's 6 stages. Well, let's break this and then we'll go ahead and break this episode. Oh man. Alright, can I break all these? Okay. Oh man, no. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Okay. Oh man, I missed just one. Yeah, so there's Bay Area and then there's Uptown. Oh, this stage looks really sweet. Oh man, I'm thinking I only have one more stage left. But the stage is fairly long. So that is it for this particular episode. I really love Final Fight. One of my favorite games of all time. And this is a game that I can play over and over and really never get bored. So if there is another sequel to this using this retro graphics engine, I'll definitely be playing it. So if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave in the comments down below. And if you did want to see more of my retro game reviews, I do have an entire playlist. I'll leave that in the description area below. As always, if you get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.